Hello everyone! Kumusta? Today I want to share with you some watering tips for orchids outdoors, kung paano ako magdilig ng orchids. And I also want to share with you my reasons why I water my orchids first before I apply foliar fertilizers or before I fertilize my orchids. Bakit ko kailangang diligan muna ang orchids bago ko i-fertilize? Feel free to ask if I missed something in the comments below, and if you have some watering tips, I hope that you'll also share that with me. And before I proceed, I would like to tell my Philippine-based subscribers that we have a giveaway, and I have discussed that in my previous video, which I will link in the description below. Sana mag-join kayo. Check nyo po yung video para sa detalye. I won't be showing you how I fertilize my orchids, but I have a video about that, and I will also include the link of that video in the description. Please note that we have a warm climate here. Our highest average temperature is 33 degrees Celsius and the lowest average temperature is 23 degrees Celsius. It's hot here, it's windy, especially during the afternoon. But these days, it's always raining because it's rainy season here in the Philippines now. We also live in a subdivision, so there are no trees here, but I have a malunggay outside. Also, it is very important to note that watering your orchids or how you water your orchids will depend on you, your environment, your orchids, the medium that you used, your pots, your setup, your climate, and some other things that you need to consider when you are growing your orchids. So I will be sharing with you today what worked with me, what worked for my orchids considering our environment, my setup, and my style. And I know that we have different styles in taking care of our orchids, so let's share them and let's learn from each other. In watering my orchids, I use tap water directly from the faucet provided by City Water District, and I am not sure if it's chlorinated, but I am assuming that it is. From the faucet, and as much as I can, I leave the water here overnight. I leave it open so that the chlorine can evaporate. And I got that tip from Nina of Ninja's Orchids. I have read that it can take days for chlorine to evaporate, but I can only do it overnight, and I hope that it's helping, and I think it is. I water my orchids every day when it's not rainy season. Pag hindi tag-ulan, araw-araw akong nagdidilig. I am using this pump sprayer when I water my orchids. I bought this from Lazada and it really saves water. It conserves water compared when I water my orchids directly from a hose. And when I fertilize my orchids, I use purified water. So this is where I keep my purified water in this water barrel. One container refill of purified water costs 25 pesos. And I only use it when I fertilize my orchids para hindi magastos. I water my orchids in the morning and I start it with my Vandas. I water my Vandas every day even if it's rainy season, and I am really trying to water them at least twice a day because they are in this setup. They are bare rooted. I start watering my vandas in the stem, in their leaves, and the water will drip down to the roots. And I also spray directly at the roots. Vanda roots are color white when they are dry, and they will change color. They will become green when they have absorbed water or if they are already wet. But not all roots will turn green. The newest roots will remain white because it will take longer for them to absorb water. And also the dry or the dead roots will turn brown or stay brown. And I have a video how to cut them, how to trim the roots of your Vanda orchids. Check out the description if you want to check that out. And I learned from Dr. Motes of Motes Orchids that dry roots repel water. That's why I'm watering my Vandas first, because they are getting their pre-wash, pre-rinse, or pre-watering. And after that, I am done watering all of my orchids. I come back to my Vandas and water them again. They will get their second dose of water. These are my Dendrobiums in clay pots with charcoal and some coconut husk chips. With clay pots, it is easier to tell if your orchids already needs water. As you can see, the clay pots on top are dry and the others are color brown and they are moist or wet because they are exposed to the rain. The clay pots on top are below our roof and the clay pots at the bottom are no longer covered by the roof and they even have algae because of the constant rain. Here you can see that the clay pot is still moist, and that's what I love about clay pot because it's wicking. It also wicks the moisture and the water from the medium to the clay pot. Clay pots are porous, they are airy, so they will actually help the medium to dry faster compared with plastic pots. Here you can see that the pots are already dry and I don't have to water this yet, but for the purpose of the video, I will show you how I water my orchids in this setup. I remind myself that it is easier to kill an orchid with overwatering than underwatering because orchids can store water in their canes or bulbs. I water only the dry orchids and I water at the base. I will also water the leaves. And before, I try to avoid wetting the leaves of my orchids, but when we transferred here, they had spider mites infestation. And I have read that spider mites love warm and dry environments, so they love our environment. So I always wet the leaves of my orchids when I water. I'm confident that they will dry up because I water in the morning, and even if I do in the afternoon, they will still dry up because it's windy here. I also water my orchids in plastic pots and inorganic media every day, except when it rained, and I water lightly just to wet the top layer, especially now that it's rainy season. And here I also have some orchids in semi-hydro setup. They are in plastic cups, in plastic pots with leca or hydroton and lava rocks. And they take the same care, same watering, same fertilizing with my other orchids here outdoors. This one is spiking. So these orchids in semi-hydro setup, I transfer them here and they are exposed with sun but with shade and rain. And I think they did well. I thought they will drown or they will get rot because they receive rain almost every day. Every month, I shower my orchids outdoors with watering hose, and I do it at least once a month during rainy season and at least twice a month during dry or hot season. I do this to flush my orchids, to flush the medium because I am using leca or hydroton, lava rocks, and charcoal, and they absorb water, they absorb nutrients, and they will also absorb anything, even toxins. I do this to wash the leaves, to flush out some pests or insects, but I don't do this all the time because this uses water a lot, and while with my pump sprayer, I only use 2 gallons of water for all of my orchids. And when I do this, I shower everything, the leaves, the undersides, the canes, the roots, the medium, and the pot. Every time I water or fertilize my orchids, I avoid wetting the flowers or the buds because my orchids had botrytis before. When I water them or when I shower them with this watering hose, I water them generously. Todo-todo ko na ang pagdidilig pag ito ang gamit ko. When I'll fertilize my orchids, I water them first so that I'll avoid burning their roots. I think it might be safe to fertilize them directly if you will use regular orchid fertilizer and if you'll follow the dosage instruction. But I am fertilizing my orchids with aggressive feeding, and it's a combination of different fertilizers, and it might be harsh on the roots of the orchids, so I water them first. It's a must with aggressive feeding. Another reason why I water my orchids first before I fertilize them is to cool them down or to let their temperatures cool down a bit, to help the opening of stomata, especially for thick-leaved orchids. That will help them absorb the nutrients or fertilizer through the leaves. And I learned that from Nina of Ninja's Orchids and Mr. GBO of Golden Bloom Orchids, Philippines. And that's all for today. I hope that you find this video helpful. And if yes, don't forget to like and share this video. Thank you for spending your time with me. Thank you for watching. Maraming salamat. Paalam. See you in my next videos.